Guten Morgen. I need my glasses because I'm getting older and I struggle to see, so apologies for that. Well, firstly, I want to congratulate you on seeing one of the best female networks I think I've ever seen, actually. So really, really great to be here, and thank you for the invite. We are in the midst of an amazing transformation. It took 100 years for us to connect 1 billion places, like the building that we're in right now. It took only a quarter of that time for 5 billion connected people, for 5 billion of us to be connected. And if you roll forward, we're going to see in the region of 50 billion and even in excess of that connected to devices. The pace of this change is quite simply phenomenal. And whatever you call it, whether it's the network society or whether it's the Internet of Things or Industry 4.0, it is an amazing transformation, and we are part of it. The Internet of Things, or the design and implementation of internet-based systems and solutions that interact with the physical environment, is quite rightfully being dubbed a revolution in the way in which we monitor, analyze, and interact with the physical world around us from a digital interface. But why now? Why are we seeing the pace of development that we're seeing behind the Internet of Things? Well, in history, large changes have come about from what we call general-purpose technologies. So steam, iron, coal, railways were all general-purpose technologies in the industrial age. And in the ICT world today, mobility, broadband, and cloud are general-purpose technologies. And those general-purpose technologies, when they stretch outside of the industry, with the ICT industry within which they originate, are causing a society-wide transformation. And that transformation is giving us exponential innovation. Innovation in areas such as 3D printing, advanced sensors, actuators, visualization, analytics, big data, and not least, Internet of Things. And we explain that innovation as a result of three things. The first is exponential performance, and that is the development of core technology. So Moore's law predicts a doubling of capacity every 18 to 24 months, and that prediction is set to hold for the next 2 decades. Coupled with massive computational capability, it allows us to quite simply have a relationship with our environment that has just not been possible in the past. The second is universal reach. Today, roughly 2/3 of the world's population have access to communication. Roll that forward to 2020, when we have approximately 8 billion inhabitants in the global planet, and only 300 million of them will be without communication. Wow, what a transformation, particularly in developing countries. And lastly, technology has reached a point through miniaturization and advancement where we have a new scale in economics, where we can highly scale the technology and we can do so at a low zero marginal cost. And it's going to hit every industry. You know this as well as I do, so I don't need to tell you. But we are going to see sensors in sustainable cities giving us up-to-date information on the infrastructure and the capacity of the infrastructure, monitoring air and water quality, and also monitoring human and machine traffic flows to ease congestion. Food production is going to be transformed. Farmers are going to be given real-time information about the production of their crop and given great advice about how to be able to optimize the yield of their crop also. Process industries will go through transformation as we see an improved asset utilization and also predictive maintenance. Transport is going to go through a key revolution as we see the evolution of concepts such as mobility as a service. And medical advancements is the one area that is dubbed as being a key progression in the Internet of Things, as we will monitor our health and we will avoid emergencies. So we are at the beginning of something big. And businesses and governments know that. So much so that today 75% of companies are already exploring Internet of Things, and high percentages of companies expect that they will be using Internet of Things and absolutely expect that it will have an impact on their business. But what is driving industries to transform? The first is that businesses and governments are looking for more efficient and effective ways to do what they do today, to improve their profitability and also to improve the service that they deliver to citizens. Companies have never been better positioned to support in our global sustainability challenges, and in particular to support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We all know that if we get closer to customers, we will have better business performance. And Internet of Things gives us some real new possibilities there. The ability for us to understand customer satisfaction ahead of a customer understanding it themselves, and the ability to offer much more personalization in the way that we deliver service. I do not meet one customer or have one dialogue where businesses say that they don't need to innovate. Everybody needs to innovate, to improve, and to progress. And the Internet of Things gives a new platform for innovation. Collaboration both inside of organizations and external to organizations, as we will see new partnerships opening up in order to bring together or bring to life new ecosystems and new partner models. And technology development gives us access to a global stage like we have never seen before. So here's the leadership bit. That was the digital age. And now I want to talk about what it means for leadership in a digital world. I think there are 4 key areas in leading in a digital world that are subtly different from probably what we have had to deal with as leaders in the past. The first is globalization. So technology development has really enabled globalization. And that means as leaders that we all have to make sure that we have workforces that fully understand what that means, both in terms of the opportunity and the threat. The second key area is the pace of change. So our CEO, Hans Vestberg, I have stolen with pride his quote here. You know, the pace of change will never be this slow again. And I think there's one thing for sure. You know, if you look at companies such as Uber, Airbnb, and the progress that they have made, I mean, who would have predicted that? And in such a short space of time. So I think we can be sure that the pace of change will never be this slow again. New business models, outcome-based economies, sharing economies are all going to be enabled by the evolved use of ICT. So we're going to move away from the sale of products to the sale of outcome-based services, where we are going to deliver an end outcome in a variety of settings, which is going to be a very big transformation for businesses of today. It's going to be quite a significant shift. In addition to that, you can imagine a point where citizens in a society are all car sharing, and the shareholders of that company are the residents of that society. So we need to be able to be fully prepared for how that will impact business of today and how we can retain an advantage in that world moving forward. And the final 4th area in digital transformation as a consideration for what we have to deal with as leaders is innovation. It really does provide a massive capability for us to innovate on a multitude of fronts going forward. But that innovation is open and available to all of us. And as I mentioned, is both an opportunity and a challenge. So, leading high performance in a digital world, and I am giving you my take on this. The first is all organizations need to build tech-savvy talent. It is no longer a back-office job to care about technology, I'm afraid. Because digital pervasiveness is going to be everywhere. So we have to have people within an organization or people within organizations who fully understand the contribution that technology is going to make to the business and to their own personal career. That means we need to reshape skills and we need to keep pace with technology. Whether we have interest in being a data scientist, an electrical engineer, or whether we want to be more at the business end and working out how we're going to develop to outcome-based economies, we need tech-savvy talent. And we not only need to keep pace with it, but we also need to contribute to it in order to avoid technology displacement. The second area is, with all of these challenges, globalization, pace of change, and the emergence of new and unknown and untested business models, we need really smart, really resilient, really high-energy teams. And those teams have to thrive on complexity. They also have to thrive on being able to deal with real unpredictability in terms of competitive threat, and they have to be able to turn on a dime or act with very high speed. And lastly, we need loyalty, really highly engaged workforces that are both empowered and are purpose-driven, and I will come back to that in a second. So that is the what, in my view, from a leadership perspective, we need to be creating in our organizations as leaders in order to capitalize on the digital world and the evolution of Internet of Things and information and communication technology. So how? How do you do it? The first is you need diversity. We cannot assume that if we move forward into a changing world that what we've had for the last 30 years is going to serve us well, because it is not. And we need gender diversity, and we need age diversity, and we need diversity of background. And if we are going to have technology and digital pervasiveness, if it's going to be everywhere, then we need women everywhere, of course. So we need to encourage more females to enter into technology careers, because we are still substantially underrepresented, as you know. But once we've got that diversity should bring us the ability to be better equipped to deal with complexity and problem solving. When we've got it there, we need to ensure inclusion. And by that, I mean that to retain top talent, you have to make sure that everybody has a voice, that they are heard, and they are capable of contributing. And as leaders, we need to design organizations and ways of working that fully ensure that inclusion. It's absolutely key. There is no point in building a diverse team if you can't leverage it and you can't make sure that its full contribution is felt. In order to ensure you have high engagement, we need to find purpose. I can tell you that in my whole career, and I have been in the telecoms world for 20 years, I have never worked for money. In fact, my husband will tell you that I would go to work even if they didn't pay me. But the reality is, I have gone to work because I wanted to make a difference. I've not always known what difference I was going to make. But I've had a connection with my job that has gone well beyond money. And that is what I define as purpose, even though I think there is an extended purpose, which I'll come on to. I tell the people around me, if you're not happy, go find something else to do, because life is just too short. And go find that for yourself, not just the organization, but for yourself. In addition, as we have got a workforce and a greater spread, I think when you're getting close to 40 or beyond 40, you also want to re-engage from a purpose perspective, and technology gives us a great platform to do that, as I mentioned earlier. My last point in leadership, I see too much negativity sometimes around me, and I really think that if you want to achieve exceptional results, it's really important to be positive. Optimism is a duty. Please make sure that you apply it to yourself and that you apply it to those around you. Get out of the way and let them shine. Thank you.